We are offering freelance services in data analytics, machine learning, audio engineering, and web development. Feel free to check out our website, services section, to see our portfolio and what we can do, and book a call with us to discuss your data challenges. We'll be happy to help you out. Now, welcome to this episode 28. Welcome to Data for Future. If you are currently struggling with changing your career and stepping out from a different background and learning to code and find it very difficult, well, I think that this episode will inspire you a lot. Stories of people who come from very difficult backgrounds, who come from different countries with difficult situations and still manage to learn to code in less than a year. This is Data for Future. Enjoy this episode. Today I'm very happy and very excited to welcome a new person in our show, who is Vincent, and who is a program manager of one of the, well, literally for me, one of the most inspiring projects which have to do with coding and programming and tech environment in general that I have seen in Barcelona. So thank you for that and welcome here in our show, Vincent.
Thank you. Awesome to be here.
Just a couple of words about my guest. So Vincent has a background in social work, in philosophy, political science, and also more tech subjects like data analysis. And now he's currently responsible for managing over 100 volunteers at MigraCode, which we will talk about in a minute, supporting students with different challenges, psychological issues, and overseeing the work of the main MigraCode team. And of course, building relationships, corporate social responsibility relationships with partners, with NGOs in and outside of Barcelona. And yeah, I'm very excited to hear, to let other people know as well about the project. So maybe this is how we can start. How would you describe, Vincent, what is MigraCode for you?
That's a good question. MigraCode, basically we are a boot camp, as people often call it, coding boot camp. Many people will know Ironhack, CodeWorks, other coding schools like this, where people in a very short amount of time learn how to code and afterwards find a job, hopefully, in the tech world. We do that as well, but with some big differences. First of all, our course is way longer. We do 8 months and then part-time. But with the main difference being that we are a non-profit organization. Well, we are part of a non-profit organization, which is Open Cultural Center, and MigraCode is one of our biggest programs. And also that our target group is specifically aimed at people with a migration background. Basically, any person with a migration background who does not have equal access to the labor market. And that also means that our students can join for free. So the course is completely free. And that also means that our course is completely, well, for 99% run by volunteers, people from the tech sector, developers, software engineers, who are helping with teaching or helping students on a one-to-one basis. So quite a complete program. And yeah, we do a lot more, supporting students through many other ways, not just on an educational level, but maybe I can go a bit more into detail about that later on.
Okay, great. And so, well, I think this is incredible. We've talked about boot camps in one of our episodes and about also, I would say, non-accessibility of the sector, of the coding sector. Although many people say it's very alternative. It's you don't require traditional education. You can enter a boot camp. You can develop your skills whatever way you want it to develop them. And if you can do stuff, then you will find a place in it eventually where you can find a job or maybe create something and use these skills. But in my opinion, it still remains very inaccessible to those who, well, I guess there are many points. To those who don't have money, maybe it's one point. Boot camps are very expensive. But also to those who don't speak English. So I think what you're doing is pretty impressive. And by the way, which language are the courses taught in? in
Yeah, it's
MigraCode?
a good point that you mentioned in general that indeed it's about accessibility. And one of those things is language. So we started giving the course in English. So indeed that the most broad migrant communities could join. But at the same time, especially in Spain and in Catalonia, many people from South America arrive on a regular basis, and especially now from Venezuela with the situation there. So we also started offering courses in Spanish for those who don't speak English, and also to get more connected to smaller companies in Catalonia where they don't speak English as a main language, because that only goes for the bigger tech companies. But indeed, that's one of the ways we try to broaden the accessibility. But it also means, I mean, the barriers for the people that we work with is not just finance. It's indeed language. It's financially, so that's why they can join for free. But it's also their situation. So maybe they, in theory, they have money, but if they would join a full-time boot camp for 2 months, it's not possible to do it 2 months intensively. They need to work on the side, so that's why we offer a part-time. But also more the personal side is where a lot of students are in just very difficult situations and came from very difficult situations, which can bring a lot of extra challenges, and we try to address it as well. So we have psychologists who are also on a voluntary basis helping students. We have a specific program for women. We have a co-buddy program where students who have a limited educational background can get extra support from what we call a co-buddy. So yeah, indeed, trying to making the barrier to access way lower for the people that we work with.
Yeah, and what was the catalyzer? What was the motivation? Well, maybe for you personally, or also for other people from your team to create this open access. Academy here.
Yeah, we didn't invent the wheel. That's quite important to mention. They started actually with this concept of open education through coding and through volunteers in Amsterdam, which is a coincidence. I didn't know them when I was still in Holland. But they started in Amsterdam at Hack Your Future. They started this concept, and this concept was taken over by some other schools throughout Europe, in Greece, in England, in other countries as well. And we just basically started doing the same thing here. And we also got help from an organization in Greece, which was Social Hackers Academy, who were doing basically the same as Hack Your Future in Amsterdam. The only difference is, I think, that if you ask me about my personal motivation, that we started to focus more, or maybe even more, on the personal side of being in a project like this as a student. So, like I was saying, offering all this additional support. So not just education, even though education is already a lot. So yeah, that was kind of the reason why we started doing it. We saw that it worked in other countries. Barcelona has a big tech hub, so there's a lot of potential for students to find jobs. There's a lot of potential to get support from companies. And yeah, we just thought it can be a really pragmatic project, because we see a lot of projects by NGOs, which are great, but at the end, there's not really something that they actually reach that you can show, okay, this many people managed to do this, which is not always bad. But we wanted to have a project like, okay, we give this education and we try to connect the students to the labor market. So you actually have really clear specific outputs and an actual change for all the students that actually find a job.
Wow, this is pretty incredible. So is there like a white paper on how to create this kind of a school? I mean, did you receive a lot of support from other schools, and could you like copy it a lot, the approach, apart of course from focusing on personal relationships with your students?
Yeah. Well, the other schools do that as well. Don't get me wrong; they do a great job as well. It's just also because my own personal background in social work, we started from start like really pushing on this part. But yes, we collaborate a lot with them. Quite recently, Hack Your Future from Copenhagen organized a really nice, let's say, online summit, where we shared best practices and gave each other tips on how to improve, shared what the other organizations could potentially do as well. Like I said, we work a lot with Social Hackers Academy in Greece, which has been of great help as well. And indeed, actually, all this is part. Well, some of these organizations are also part of European collaborations, like through the European Union. And through these collaborations, we are indeed trying to develop some sort of a handbook where indeed we can say, okay, if in Sevilla there's also a tech hub and there are a lot of migrants, use this guide and you could set up something that is kind of like MigraCode Barcelona or Hack Your Future or whichever organization, of course, adjusted to the specific needs of that location.
Yeah, exactly. I think the idea is wonderful. I mean, of course, you have to adjust in every place because every place is different, probably different legal aspects and so on and so forth. But yeah, great. Really great. And you said a couple of words about the challenges. So you offer psychological support. I've also seen you offer, there are subjects that maybe for people who were born in Europe, you never learn it in the school, you never learn it in the university, but things like how to build your CV or how to send an application. I didn't even think about this, but of course it's very important. It's one of the most important things, how you present yourself. So yeah, maybe could you say a couple of words about what are those challenges of maybe specific challenges of people with migration background, and how did you manage to deal with them?
Yeah, it's difficult to just because there's so many challenges for the people that I see so many challenges when I speak to students. It's incredible how they are able to push through. But yeah, one of the main challenges you mentioned already is a legal aspect. So not all migrants coming to Europe, to Spain, to Catalonia immediately have a work permit or are even legal. This is incredibly difficult and often very, very unfair because sometimes there are really good processes. It's changing constantly. Maybe I say something now, tomorrow change. But for instance, in general, if you're from Venezuela, in theory, you have a right to have within 6 months to get your red card, which is basically a work permit and allows you to stay legally in Europe, in Catalonia, here in Barcelona, or wherever. Because the situation in Venezuela is clear and there are old links between the countries. But if you're coming from Morocco, from a very poor background or from a very difficult situation, and you come to Spain, you're basically screwed because you will be illegal. There is barely, I don't know any way for a person from Morocco, except if they have a European family, to stay legal here. That means they have to stay here for 3 years, wait for arraigo, which is a process that can start after 3 years being illegal. And being illegal is incredibly difficult. It's impossible to imagine, indeed, with the privileges we get from Europe, being European, to imagine that. So, well, maybe for you personally it's different because you're from Ukraine, and I know it's also difficult to get a permit and all these things. But indeed, for most people with a European EU passport, it's relatively easy. So that's one of the challenges. Yeah, the second one that I see a lot is even though students are highly motivated, even though they have the situation to work on MigraCode and have the financial capability, maybe from family, to have the time to follow the course and maybe hopefully find a job afterwards. If you come from Syria right now and you try to flee from the regime there or from Daesh IS, there are a lot of things probably that are still on your mind, to put it a little lightly. I'm talking about trauma. I'm talking about the journey from Syria to Europe, which also is often very traumatizing, not even speaking about what may have happened in Syria or another country that is in war. And they carry this with them, even if they're still here, well, even logically. And this causes concentration issues, this causes depressed feelings, and all this doesn't help to follow a super intense course, and in general doesn't help you to have a good life. And we saw this a lot, and we saw a huge need for this, because again, a lot of people don't have the work permit, it's difficult to get professional support for this. So we have some amazing psychologists who are volunteering to do weekly sessions with students, and this is simply amazing. They're spending a lot of time on this, helping the students and making sure the students, help them in general, but also to prevent them from dropping out and losing this opportunity. So that's another thing that's super important. Well, there are more things, but to go into the specific one you mentioned about soft skills, about preparing your CV, that is indeed also important, because we have students coming from backgrounds maybe used to presenting themselves, having already a CV, knowing how LinkedIn works, knowing the importance of networking, personal branding. Indeed, something that is quite obvious to a lot of European citizens, not all of them, but a lot of them. But some indeed of our students don't know how to do this, or they have a CV, but it's outdated, or it's not fancy enough, because these days your CV has to be super, super, super outstanding to actually even have a chance of getting a call for a job interview. So we have a lot of volunteers, which we call the employability volunteers, helping students with that. And we give trainings throughout the course as well to help them with this. And we help them connect directly to companies. So they can apply themselves, or me or one of my colleagues send the CVs to the company to say, hey, we got some people who are eager to work. Feel free to contact them. And this is also how some students got a job.
And who are your partners? Because if I'm correct, those are pretty big players as well. Could you name a few of them?
Yeah, we did quite good. Yeah, we are collaborating with Lenovo, which is, I think, our biggest partner in terms of the company, how big the company is, which is amazing. They've given amazing support. We're working with Glovo, the food delivery company here in Barcelona, and they also have done a lot, still doing a lot with volunteers and also other kinds of support. We're working with Adaptive, which is an amazing company here. Well, it's not a Catalan company, but they are also based here, and I'm in contact a lot with them, and they've been an amazing support. And we're talking to a lot of other companies that are either investing or investing people, investing time, some even financially. And that's just amazing. And that's really showing that, well, the corporate social responsibility or social impact, however you want to call it, shared value, can actually work, because it allowed us to support so far around 50 students in less than a year. And of which quite a lot of them actually found jobs, and, well, quoting them, having a life-changing moment for them to find a job. I've been with students who I had to go with to social services to ask for a place to stay and for food, who now found a job and have a stable income. And yeah, that's made possible by the amazing involvement of some corporate partners as well.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, just a couple of words to what you said before about visas and everything, because I do understand that for me it's the same. I'm outside of EU, so I guess with Morocco it's something similar. In countries where there is war, you can have this kind of immigration reasons that you're fleeing from war, you're fleeing from persecution. For countries which are just poor, maybe very poor, but there is nothing more, it's very difficult. And I totally understand how it feels, and sometimes it's very demotivating. But I'm also, like you say, I'm also amazed. I know I haven't had the worst situation of many people. I didn't move because I had to move because of war. And yeah, when I see those people who managed to come from so distant countries by boats, by buses, by just walking, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible what kind of strong spirit you need to have to be here. And it's rarely appreciated. So I totally agree on that. So, well, you said that you've started to say something about stories, like personal stories, life-changing experiences for these people. Is there one particular person, maybe moment, which has inspired you the most of all that you have seen, where you could see like actually the impact of what you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, we see it kind of all the time, because even a class that, I mean, it sounds maybe a bit soft, but even a class that goes really well, and where we see students who were maybe a month before a bit like shy and not talking a lot, suddenly see them talking and knowing stuff, and like suddenly have the courage to speak up and to answer questions. Like on a really small scale, that's for some is already going over such a barrier to do that, that's already really awesome. And that's how we started. Those were the small victories where we were so happy with. And that, turned into bigger victories. And I think the most practical examples are students finding jobs. Like I said, these are life-changing moments. For some more than others. Some had a job, but maybe found a better, more stable job. But most students didn't have a stable job. They had, let's say, freelancing kind of jobs, or maybe not even legal jobs with very unstable incomes. If they would get sick, they would be really screwed. Or just such low salaries that they couldn't even afford for their families. A lot of students have families. Yeah, and suddenly they get a job in tech. And if you think about salaries in tech, even tech support, which we also try to find jobs for our students, especially with COVID in mind, it starts at 1,100 euros a month. Now, to a lot of Europeans, that sounds maybe a little bit low, especially those not coming from Southern Europe. But that's enough money to have a life, even in Barcelona. You may have to live in a small apartment. You may have to be careful with money, but it's the opposite of living almost on the street or worrying
it's a
about
different
money.
level.
And it's a steady income. So they're not worried anymore about next month. No, we have a steady income, and from here we can start building. So I had students. I mentioned already one indeed. From one point, I was studying at social services, and a couple of months later, the student got a job, has a steady income. Yeah, and it's an amazing change. I had a student who also had a very extremely difficult life before coming to Spain. Coming from a country torn apart by war, very difficult journey to here. Came here alone and faced a lot of challenges even here, but in the end also found a job, and now also is in a relatively steady situation, at least job-wise. But of course, if you have the job, it means stability on a lot of other levels in your life as well. And I got a few more, but they're comparable. I mean, for me personally, each story is very different. But in the end, the idea is the same, coming from such a difficult position and suddenly having a job. And maybe we also have students who didn't find a job, but they started doing freelancing, and they're doing now big freelancing jobs for companies, and they're making almost enough money to actually provide for themselves through freelancing. So, I would say those are big success stories. And mostly seen from the perspective of students. I'm not even talking about the amazing things that volunteers are doing, which all of them call success stories. The Code Women project that we have is completely run by an amazing volunteer. All the volunteers doing the classes every time. It's just really, really cool. So
that's fascinating. It's very beautiful, actually, what you're saying. That you don't just value those big moments at the end of the course when someone finds the job, but also, I guess a lot of reward for you and for volunteers also comes in this, as you say, evolutionary stages where you can see people opening up and overcoming their personal challenges and just maybe just feeling a bit better today than a couple of days before.
Well, that's very much it. We see that can be because of a class. It can be because of sessions with our psychologists that you see within a short amount of time somebody really growing or getting more positive. I mean, it's not always. Sometimes it goes worse as well, but the moments it goes well are better. It's always super, super nice. For everyone.
This amazing. So you have this rewarding part of seeing the evolution of students, and this is a big thing to have in life, I think. But also you have to pay for a bill somehow, and you have the co-working, if I'm correct, right? You have the space for co-working. I'm not sure if you also lend computers to your students, but in general, how do you manage to cover all of your expenses to run the academy?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we don't. Co-working. We have a space in Elborn, which is a space from Open Cultural Center, so the organization behind MigraCode. Right now, we barely use it because, especially with coding, it was quite easy as a response to COVID to switch completely online. So I meet team members in bars, but that's it. But yeah, managing the program, like I said, it's 99% volunteer based. The only people employed for the MigraCode project, I'm not talking about OCC, but specifically for MigraCode, is at the moment 1.5 full-time, me, and part-time Carlos. Then we have 2 trainees at the moment who are doing an amazing job. So let's say students or people who just graduated doing a traineeship with us. And the rest is completely volunteer based. So it's, let's say, for what we do, I would say with now more than 50 students, 100 people involved in volunteering, maybe even more at the moment. I would say the costs are quite low, relatively. But of course, we still have a full-time salary, part-time salary, some trainees that are also getting some financial compensation. And of course, we have some other costs, software, all these things. And basically, it's a mix of resources. So like I was saying, some companies have, as part of corporate social responsibility, have supported us financially. We received some grants from the municipality of Barcelona, I think also from Generalitat de Catalunya. I think it's a bit of a mix. So we get it a bit from everywhere, and we try to manage with what we got. And of course, it's a huge help that we are part of Open Cultural Center. So we always get amazing help. When we work together really well to get these finances together.
How did you find all of these sources of income? Did you just go onto internet, or did you have any? I don't know. Were you incubated maybe by someone?
No, we weren't. But Didak, the manager of Open Cultural Center, has a lot of experience in getting grants. So our first grant was from the European Union. He wrote it. Then the grants for these grants from the municipality or Generalitat are also, I think, done by him. Also by some other colleagues. I think so. And the ones with the companies, I think I found them together with some of the volunteers or true volunteers. And then we just met with the companies and just pushed them and asked them and begged them. And then they were interested. And then we write a proposal. And what we give back is also quite beneficial for the companies because we disseminate their participation and we make really clear on the website how they're involved. So and they can really show that they're doing something that's actually having a positive impact on society. And it's not just about profit.
And how is the response from companies? I mean, are they really interested in supporting the social impact, or is it just for making a checkbox?
It's difficult to say. There are always two sides. I think a lot of companies are in between. Especially if I look at an individual level, when I speak to the people who are making this possible for the company, I'm quite sure that all those people are intrinsically motivated to do this. But maybe in the top direction of the company is more, we have those people doing it, we can check it. But it depends a lot on the company. So far, I only have positive experience of the companies that we collaborated with. For instance, with Adaptive, it was amazing how not only they helped us financially, how not only they sent volunteers, but even people from their management were involved in volunteering, send me a random email, hey, how's it going? Is everything going well? Barely asking for things back. I think we made one post on social media that they also wanted to do, and the rest was me pushing, hey, we can do more. We really want to show that you're doing an awesome job here. So there are great examples out there. And of course, sometimes I notice maybe companies, we want to help. And in the end, it's just, we send an email to our employees if they want to volunteer. But those, then it's the employees doing the corporate social responsibility and not the company, except sending an email. But it depends a lot. Sometimes that's already great. It depends on the company. Sometimes a company cannot do more. And then we understand that if it's a small startup and they ask their few employees to also do some volunteering, then suddenly it's amazing. So it depends a lot.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking maybe it even doesn't matter in the end. If you say that, there are some people, internal people from the company who send out the invitations, hey, let's volunteer, go to volunteer here, and they come. I mean, companies consist of people. So in the end, if people do participate, then that's amazing. I mean, that means that something is changing in a better direction. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah. Have to be pragmatic.
Yeah. So where do you see MigraCode in let's say 3 years? How do you see the evolution? How would you like to see MigraCode?
Well, that's especially difficult to say considering the current situation. I don't know what's possible. We were doing a lot of bigger events that were growing, so our community building aspect was growing a lot, and now we're still doing that, but it's all online, so a little less perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that, who knows, maybe next year it goes all a bit better and we can do that a lot more. But in the end, we just want to reach out to more people, both students as volunteers. So at one point, maybe with more funding, have more classes, have more students per classes, work together more with other schools. We're currently starting we're trying to build a collaboration with a school in Madrid. Madrid for Refugees, an amazing volunteer-run organization. They're quite small still, but they had some good results already. And maybe collaborate more with them and merge our efforts. So yeah, I would say grow in a very positive way, and that simply growing means reaching more students and involving more volunteers, making more people aware. That's a good thing. Creating more awareness, because so far we've been really focused on the educational side. But we started to more and more also have volunteers write articles about the situation in Venezuela. Michaela, our trainee, she wrote an amazing article where she interviewed students in MigraCode from Venezuela, combining their stories with the situation there to make people aware of what's going on there and why people leave. Because a lot of people have no idea. They know about Syria, but nobody reads about Venezuela. Or not nobody. So these kind of things, to use the very powerful stories of our students to create awareness, that's something I would like to see a lot more. That's also why we're trying to reach out to media. And we had one article published in La Vanguardia that was amazing. And yeah, we would like to see that more.
Yeah, that's great. Well, if there is even more, let's say, help, maybe more support, more collaboration that you would like to see, I guess this is also the moment for you to share, because we're coming to the end of our interview. And yeah, just feel free to, now is your moment to say, we're working on this. If anyone out there wants to help, knows, has the skills, has the time, whatever, please feel free to share this, and also how they can, of course, contact you guys and and support you.
Yeah, no, we always need different kinds of support. I'm imagining most listeners here are individuals. Maybe they feel, hey, I want to volunteer. Well, that's always possible from two different perspectives. So we got the technical volunteers, so those who know about coding, help students with the coding part. But we also got volunteers from the employability perspective, helping students, well, like we said, for their CV, motivation letter, all these things. So anyone can go to the website, migracode.openculturalcenter.org, and there's a big button on top saying volunteer, and there you read about the different options. So that is, let's say, on an individual level, how people can be involved and support us, besides sharing us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and everything, because we're on all those networks and we're really active. So resharing our posts helps a lot as well. And for companies, yeah, it's same on our website. There's a big button saying collaborate, with an information guide about how our corporate social responsibility program works, like the different kinds of support levels that companies can help us, and also per level what they get back for it, and really clearly described, I would say, the benefits for these companies to start making or increasing their positive social impact. And for that, send an email even straight to me, or to the email address on our website, barcelona@migracode.org, and we'll get in touch. That is also very useful.
Perfect. Well, all of those links that you've mentioned, I'll leave them all in the description to this episode. Yeah. And of course, you listener, you have heard the share. This is with simple click, you can change something and extend an impact of MigraCode.
Exactly.
So yes, I'm very thankful to you, Vincent, for joining me today. It has been a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
And I will share a lot.
Yeah, that's good.